let's get to the stock of the day. Now, as I said, we were spoiled for choice. We could have also talked M&A with BlueScope's best and final offer coming through from SGH and Steel Dynamics. We could talk, Santos on weaker oil and gas prices. We could talk premiums for health insurance rising and lighting a fire under some of those names as well. But what I decided to do is stick with a company in the smaller end of the market, but one that has been doing well. It has hit a 3-month high today, that being Superloop, after swinging back to a half-year profit. So posting a profit of $5.1 million for the first half compared with a loss of $7.8 million a year ago. While its business segment improved over the period, Superloop says its wholesale and consumer segments drove the performance. It also announced that it will acquire the parent company of Lightning Broadband, which is a provider of fiber and fixed wireless internet from homes and businesses. So Superloop, one of the best performers of the session so far, if not the best at times, putting on a pretty healthy 12%. Now, this is a company, gentlemen, that did have pretty lofty valuations at one stage of the game, perhaps came a little bit back to reality in some ways, but clearly still proving it's got the goods. Or am I overstating it? We'll start with you, Henry.
It's interesting, isn't it? You look at this one, Superloop's had a good run today. I think that's a relief more than anything else. The deal is a good deal as well. But it's a $1.4 billion company, and it made an interim net profit of $5 million. That's on revenue of $317 million, which was up 23%. We all focus on EBITDA because that's one of those great sort of metrics that people focus on these days. They're talking about 112 to 120 million, up from 109 to 117, so that's good. But 5 million in interim net profit, it's sometimes the numbers, you look at them and you think, you've got all that EBITDA, but you're not actually making an awful lot of money in terms of net profit. I know the financial analysts will go through it and say, well, net profit, who cares? It's EBITDA that we care about. But I do like to look at the actual money that drops out the bottom, because the net profit at the end of the day is the profit that they have. And that does seem a little measly for a $1.4 billion company. Having said that, the result was a better result. The acquisition is a good result for them. This is a specialist business, Lightning Broadband, which is owned by Lynham Networks. So this is giving them more penetration into, I guess, that specialist market. They're paying $165 million for this, so it's not particularly cheap, but it does give them more penetration into the student housing, hospitals, and hotels market. So that is a positive. We've had AB&B and Superloop, that's Aussie Broadband and Superloop, that kind of merger, on again, off again, take one, take up the other one over. It's had a good run today. I would probably be a buyer of this one only on the fact that it has provided some relief, but I'm not going to pay $272 today. I'd rather pay sort of $250, $260 for this one, but it's certainly a buy on the back foot, on the back of it. But again, just be careful, because it did only make $5 million, and it is a $1.4 billion company, and any sell-off in the US that continues in the tech space will have a detrimental effect on this and others, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay, let's get Andrew's view on Superloop.
Look, it's done incredibly well since Henry and I last looked at this back in 2023, and at that time the share price was around $1. So to go from $1 to 270 odd today is great. But to Henry's point, I also had a look, and I haven't looked at the most recent return on equity figures or margin, but we're sort of literally looking at around a 2% margin and about a 3% return on shareholders' funds. So again, from my point of view, I could stick the money in the bank and take no risk and get 3.5 or 4% return, or that they Superloop are using my money and driving a 2 or 3% return. So they certainly need to continue all the positive stuff. Again, I had a brief read of the commentary just before. 74,000 new customers signed up, so they certainly are getting a lot of momentum there. But from I don't know, the numbers don't necessarily stack up. I mean, I'm not suggesting there's any issues, but it just doesn't sort of light a fire under me. I'm with Henry. It's certainly not a buy at these levels. I think it's a hold, and if you were able to get it sort of 225 to 250, that's probably the mark. But did a great job of avoiding the killing season, so it's a hold.
All right, there you go. That's the verdict on Superloop. 2 holds, not a bad company. They just would like to get it cheaper.